Welcome to Students Means Business this afternoon, and we're very excited to have some pupils with us, and we've got some questions in as well that students have sent to us. So welcome to everyone, and we have an esteemed panel, and I would like the panel to introduce themselves. Actually, besides the panel, we also have Becca, and I really thank Becca for coming along today. And Becca's got her own story. She's at Hooray Recruitment. So, Becca, I will come to you with your questions in the middle, if that's all right. But
yeah,
great, thank you. Thanks for coming along. So, if the panel could just introduce themselves, that would be fantastic. So, we'll start with Christy.
Hi, Julie. I'm Christy. I'm a family solicitor at Willans in Cheltenham.
Thank you. And you could just say what you did do when you left school at 18. If you left at 18, what did you study?
I went on to university in Bournemouth and I studied law, and then I stayed there to do my legal practice course as well.
Lovely. Thank you very much. And over to Nigel Church. Nigel, tell us what you did at 18 and what you're doing now.
Okay, my name's Nigel Church. I'm the Managing Director of a group of technology companies here in Cheltenham. I mean, for A-levels, I studied maths, physics and chemistry, but I went on to study economics at university. At the age of 18, I really wanted to be an officer in the British Army. So, so there you go.
Didn't quite pan out. Thank you, Nigel. And Andrew, actually, we haven't got Andrew Merrill, I've just realised, from So Gloss. So maybe Jill might be able to track him down, or I will, as we're talking, see if I've had anything from him. So hopefully he'll join us. We've got Kim from Fly to Help at the Gloucestershire Airport. Kim, please tell us your quick history.
Hi, so I left school at 16 with not a clue what I wanted to do. Similar to Nigel, I thought the Air Force was a good bet because I was into running and wanted to just run and compete. It was too young at 16, so I got a 6-month work experience program as an air traffic control assistant at what was called Staverton Airport, now Gloucestershire Airport. And years on, still working in the aviation industry, but with the charity Fly to Help teenagers that are looking to get into the aviation and aerospace industry.
Fantastic, thank you. And over to Ellie from Pinpoint.
Hi everybody, I'm Ellie Hanwell and I am the marketing manager here at Pinpoint Media. We are a media production company. We do content strategy and video production, animation, all kinds of different content. At 18, I left school and did a music degree at Dartington College of Arts. Then went on and did singing teaching before going sideways into marketing. So that's a bit of a potted history for me.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And Myra, please tell us what you've been doing.
Okay, hi everyone, Myra Billinghurst here from Gloucestershire College. I look after business development and apprenticeships at Gloucestershire College. At the age of 16, I left school, didn't have a clue what I wanted to do other than I actually wanted to be an actress. Gave that a go for a couple of years, didn't get into any drama colleges, ended up working in a bar, ended up actually then working in the kitchen of that particular place, became a chef, did that for 25 years, then went into training chefs at the college, then moved from there into business development at the college. So a complete mixture for me.
Fantastic. And you did say that you did your degree really late.
Yeah, 40. So I did a degree in education and professional studies at 40. Prior to that, I'd done a lot of vocational qualifications.
Absolutely brilliant. Okay, so let's kick off with some questions. And Mimi, would you like to start off with your marketing question, which I think is headed for Ellie? You have to unmute yourself, that's it. Brilliant.
I can't find my question. It was, what are the main kind of things? Oh, here we go. What's the most important skills for a marketing career?
I think really a lot of it are soft skills. So being able to balance loads of different things. I mean, it's probably something that everyone's aware of in marketing. Marketing constantly changes all the time and new things are coming out, new social media platforms come out, new ways that you can communicate with people. So you're constantly needing to balance social media, email, website, lots of different areas. So being able to manage your time effectively and being able to communicate effectively with people, it are all skills that are really kind of key in marketing, because it's not the kind of career where you're just doing the same thing every day. It is very varied. So I think if you're the kind of person who likes to do lots of different types of tasks and is good at managing your time and balancing lots of different things, then marketing is definitely a career that is worth considering.
Have you got any, is there anything tied in that? Do you want to respond to that, Mimi?
No, I think that's really helpful. Thank you.
Good.
Julie, I mean, responsibility for marketing in our business, and the thing for me is the crossover between it being commercial and it being creative, and I think that's an important feature, you know, that you've got to consider in marketing. It is considered often a creative industry, but it needs to be grounded in some kind of commerciality, really.
Yeah.
I would definitely agree with that. And when Julie came in the other day and she asked me for my 3 top things, that was one of the things I said, is the balance of creativity with the kind of the technique side of things. So there's a lot of looking at data and working out what's working and what's not, but you have to balance that with the creative side. So we need to be able to, you know, create images that look good, or be able to create downloads that are enticing, or, you know, craft words that make people want to click on things or read things. And so it is that balance of that creativity and then also knowing what works and being able to really zone into that. So I would definitely agree with Nigel that that is a big part of it as well, like having those two very different sides of you know, the same coin in order to be successful.
What is it that appeals to you about marketing, Mimi? Does it sound, I always think marketing sounds very glamorous.
Yeah, it just sounds like something quite enjoyable to do, kind of within business.
Good. Fantastic. Okay. The first, I was going to get Lucy Gilder to ask, I know how keen she is to do journalism, and without Andrew on, bless her, she's probably thinking, oh, where is he? And I'd like to know where he is too, actually, because he hasn't responded. So, but Lucy, you had some questions, not just for journalism, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I kind of wrote down quite a few, I think.
You did. Would you like to ask one of your other questions?
Yeah, I think my question is to do with aviation, really.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, as an industry, like, do you feel that it's almost a male-dominated profession? And if so, have you ever felt isolated in that kind of scenario?
Yes, it has been. It's getting better. In fact, I'm at an event now and we are talking about how the industry is getting better sort of for females and anybody that wants to get into the industry. I started, as I said, when I was 16, and that was very male dominated then. I didn't go on to become an air traffic controller till I was in my sort of late 20s because of the confidence that you sort of feel being a female in a male dominated industry. Thankfully now I know that's changed. There are lots of female air traffic controllers, there's lots of female pilots. I say lots, I think the percentage is probably still about sort of 70-30, but there's no reason why sort of women aren't accepted into the industry. There's a lot of help out there. There's a lot of organisations that can help sort of females get into the industry as well. There's Women's Pilots Association. There's lots of different ways. And what with Fly to Help, we sort of encourage females to apply to our scheme and show them the industry, and actually they get to meet role models that are females as well as males. So yeah, so it's getting better. So don't ever be put off thinking it's a male dominated industry.
Did say when Kim came on, she looks like a pilot today, doesn't she? She looks like she's going to take off. We've got a question. Yeah, there it looks good. Yeah. We've got a question from a student outside who has said, how important, open to the panel really, how important is it to speak another language fluently in business these days? So if anyone on the panel would like to take that one. How important is it to speak another language fluently? In law, Christy, do you have a part of your law company that deals with overseas contracts?
I think we've got international clients, but I wouldn't say that many of us speak another language on that. I did a Spanish A-level as well, and I can't say it's ever come in handy for any of my clients or anything like that. If translators and things at court, but that would be becoming a translator rather than a lawyer. So my area, possibly not. Maybe at the bigger firms it might be, like the firms in London perhaps.
Yeah.
I would encourage everyone to speak a foreign language, regardless of whether you can apply it professionally or not. I think it's just a wonderful thing to be able to do regardless.
Yeah.
Professionally.
Yeah. Thanks, Nigel. Megan, I'm guessing that Megan is sat in the same room as you, Mimi. So would you like to ask your question?
My question was, what's the most effective way to get work experience?
It's been really tough, hasn't it, for you guys in the past couple of years, really. And my niece wants to be a vet, and it's been impossible for her to get any work experience. Any of the panel, Myra, how has it been for the pupils you know at the college to try and get work experience?
Something that we always get feedback from employers that we speak to is they're always more impressed if you actually go into the business or try to go into, obviously this year has been a little bit tricky, but if you try to go into the business to hand in a CV or a letter to ask if they're interested in doing, that way they get to see you and they get the feeling that you're much more motivated and proactive, and quite often they'll have a chat with you while you're there because that impresses them, because you've actually made the effort to actually go into the business yourself physically.
Anyone else on the panel had students go in and do work experience?
Yeah, I mean, we regularly have students in just for a week or 2 weeks, and the way they tend to come to me is through their parents. So I think it's important, you know, that in work and professionally you use what you've got, you use your network of people, even you know, even regardless of what you may or may not think of your parents. But yeah, I'd use your parents and let them use their influence with their peer group to try and secure you some work. That's a good route.
And in law especially, I tried to get some of our pupils when I was at Dean Close some work experience in law, and they said all the work experience was taken up either with children or nieces or nephews. So it's very difficult, isn't it, in law to get work experience, Christy?
I think there's obviously, because of COVID, there's been a shift to us all working from home. So whereas before you may have people sort of, you know, students with you for a week or two going around the different departments, it's just not been possible because we've all been at home. So carry on into the future, whether we have a mixture of home working and in the office. So the office is between, really.
Yeah. We've actually had a question in from the Times Education supplement, and I'm going to ask David Evans. I'm glad it's you on with the pupils today, David, because the question came in and it was, have schools encouraged pupils to study abroad in the last 2 years? And I'm presuming they want to know the answer to this because of COVID, and before we did do special, if people wanted to study in America, we had special meetings for that, didn't we, or American universities. So have we done that with COVID going on?
So I think there are a couple of different things here. Because we have quite a number of students who come from around the world, some of those will be going back to study in different parts of the world anyway. I think those of the UK students who might have gone to European universities, there's still a question about how that might be working. And indeed those who might be going to universities in the UK but going on the old Erasmus project, they're still trying to see how that might work out as well. So we will have some people who are applying, but I think people are looking closer to home at the moment, largely because of the current situation, that it's easier to be at home. People are not sure about travel restrictions, how that might work. So we're seeing people looking more closely at home than perhaps before.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to talk to Becca at this point. And Becca, I really thank you for coming in today. I asked you to come on the panel for a few reasons. You did your A-levels, or didn't do your A-levels last year, didn't you?
Yes.
And at 16, what did you want to do?
I truthfully wanted to either be a midwife or a mortician.
Okay. And so what did you do for A-levels, or you did some BTECs as well, didn't you?
I done food, business and health and social care.
Brilliant. And so at what point did you think, I don't want to be a midwife anymore?
Well, I still want to be a midwife, but the thought of having to do university from home because of COVID, I just knew that I wouldn't be able to do it properly.
Yeah. Okay. And so you're actually on the Kickstart program, aren't you? And who helped you, or who directed you towards the Kickstart program?
It was through Universal Credit.
Okay. And what attracted to you? Tell us about the job that you're actually doing now through Kickstart.
So I'm currently an administrator. So it just consists of answering the phones, emails, just like standard office jobs, I suppose. I didn't apply for the job purely for the Kickstart side of it. That didn't really bother me. I just applied for it more because I thought it was a good starting place for my career.
And you should name the company because we want to give them a plug.
Hooray Recruitment.
Which is in the centre of town, isn't it? And you know, people say that if you work for a recruitment company, you don't stay very long because you see all the good jobs come in.
Well, I do see some of the jobs, but I don't see like a lot of them. But a lot of the only ones that I'd be attracted to is the healthcare and education ones, but I'm not really attracted to them either.
So is the plan that you do the 6 months on the Kickstart program, and then they might continue to take you on, or you will decide to go and do something else then?
At the moment, I'd want to stay on if they offered it me, but obviously 6 months down the line, it could be completely different, and I might have found a better job or something like that.
I really thank you for coming on, Becca, because it was a kind of call out of the blue for me, wasn't it? And I said it would be really good to have you on. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of it. Charlie disappeared, and he's back, and he looks like he's just come off the rugby pitch, actually. Or are you going on the rugby pitch, Charlie?
Going to the gym in a minute.
Oh, okay. So what's your question that you've got today?
It was sort of like, I don't know if anyone's in this position, but if you don't really know sort of like what you want to do in the future, like what was the inspiration, and then how did you get to where you are today?
Okay, so I think we could go around the whole panel for this. Ellie, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. So it's really hard because I think when you're at school, you get pushed into kind of making decisions quite early on, and you know, you can't know I don't even know if 10 years down the line will still be in marketing. Things change so often that I don't think we can necessarily say that this is going to be our job for life. But I think what you can make a decision on is what you enjoy and what kind of fires you up inside. So for me, when I had to choose what I wanted to do for GCSEs and then for A-levels and then for my degree, I went with thinking what excites me right now, what is going to make me want to continue learning. And then I kind of trusted in the fact that I would learn some skills that would be transferable. And I did music, so it's kind of really hard to then leave a music degree and then go into a job. So it is very much a degree where you're kind of going, oh, I don't really know what I'm going to do at the end of it. But most education, you'll find that there are skills that are transferable when you come out. And I think that if you look at that as skills and go with what, you know, really excites you and make decisions based on that, then I think that that's gonna steer you in the right direction, rather than thinking, oh, I must do this, and then sitting and hating it. So that would kind of be my advice.
Brilliant. And Kim?
Yes, so as I said, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So at 16, I didn't have the, I wasn't able to stay on at school. And I found, it's talking to Becca actually, it's quite similar. My scheme was for 6 months. And at the end of that 6 months, I didn't know what was going to happen. But I was lucky to be taken on. And in fact, I sort of worked in this control tower, didn't know anything about aeroplanes, but actually fell in love with aviation at that moment. And so when I was offered a full-time job, I sort of jumped at that chance. And, you know, not knowing at that time what I was going to be doing in 6 months' time, to be offered a full-time opportunity. And 39 years next month is when I started. So that 6 months actually became a lifelong career for me. And now my role is to help teenagers to get into something they love. And as Ellie said, you're a long time working. And if something doesn't if you don't want to get up in the morning because you don't want to turn up for work because it's so mundane, I get that, you know, we have to sometimes, and I'm very, very lucky and very fortunate. But if there is something that grabs you, just research it. You know, if aviation grabs you, you know, what we do is an aviation charity, so we can point you on that pathway. But in other lines, there are people out there that can point you on that pathway. Get the research, get everything, that's something that jumps out at you. If you're excited about it, research it. And if you can get a job that you love, it's not a job. It doesn't feel like work. So that's what I would say. Research something that, if you're into sport or whatever, you got to go down that route and try and get any experience you can with sport. Hang around sports clubs. I say to people, hang around airports if they want to work at an aviation, in aviation. Somebody hang around when they were 60 knocking on hangar doors. They're 30 now and working as a fully qualified engineer. But somebody saw his passion for the industry, and he absolutely loves his job. So that's what I would say, is find what motivates you now, get some research done, and see if you can actually do what you love doing.
Thank you. And Myra?
Yeah, I would say don't get too hung up on what you're going to do for the rest of your life now, because you'll probably change your career 3 or 4 times or more in your lifetime. But what you'll find is there'll be certain things that go through those career changes that you will always want to or move towards, I suppose. So it might be that you're a people person, so you might change roles, but parts of that job that are about people and interacting with people might be the thing that you really enjoy. So I would say don't get too hung up on, I am going to be a this or a that. Try and look at maybe broadening your horizons and joining particular companies that you know have got a lot of opportunities within the company, and jobs you've probably never heard of might be the jobs that you will end up doing in 10, 20 years time. And you can only do that really by getting yourself out there and having a go, I would say, and giving things a try. But try not to limit too much about thinking I've got to make that decision in the next 5 years. You know, you've got plenty of time. Absolutely.
And if we come to you, Nigel, with your company, you've got people that do all different sorts of things, don't you?
Yeah, I would kind of reflect what Eleanor said, is find something that you love doing, just anything that you love doing, and then do it the best that you can. And opportunities will present themselves to you as a consequence of what you're doing and the passion that you're doing it with. So, you know, just find something you like, do it well, and the rest will take care of itself.
We actually had Raymond Blanc on as a visitor to Dean Close once. He came to a sixth form dinner, and he actually started out just the guy that cleaned the wine glasses in the restaurant. That's how he started. And he said, if whatever you do it to the very, very best of your ability. And the guy who was the waiter, noticed how well he polished these wine glasses, and he got moved to waiter, maitre d', and then of course Raymond Blanc is now a famous chef. So he just said, whatever you do, do it to the best of your ability. Christy, what would you say to them?
So when I did my law degree, I didn't necessarily know that I was going to become a solicitor or a barrister, and lots of the people on my degree didn't become those things, but they ended up in really good like postgraduate schemes, working in Bristol, Birmingham, London, because a law degree was a good degree to have. And so the transferable skills that Ellie mentioned earlier are really, really good, really, really positive.
Thank you very much. And Lucy, I really feel for you, Lucy, and I have tried to check my phone to see if Andrew's made contact. He made contact at 2 o'clock to say send me the link, which I did. So, but you did have some other questions, didn't you? You had a marketing question. Yeah, I've got your questions if you can't remember them.
Hang on, I think I'll try and find it.
I've got all your questions written down here, so if you want to have a look at them, I'll just slip one in that was sent in from another pupil, which was, what is your top interview tip? So we'll go around the panel again and ask them, when they're interviewing someone, I would say, what are you looking for when you are interviewing people for jobs? Nigel, yeah, go for it. You've been interviewing a lot lately, so
I have, too much. Just be prepared. You know, be prepared. Know the company. Know something about the company that you're going to work for. Understand the scope of the job that it is that you are interviewing for. You know, if you want to take it to the extreme, understand what the competitors to the company you're interviewing are doing in the market. Just be prepared, you know, in that respect. You know, just know the company, know the job, know the competitors, know the market, and then formulate off the back of that, all that understanding, some intelligent questions. I think just formulate some intelligent questions to ask.
Thank you. Thank you. And Christy, have you been interviewed quite a few times to get where you are today?
And had things like assessment days, and you know, these, before your training contract to become a solicitor, you have all of these different assessment programs to go through. And I just think if you have a look online and get an idea of the sorts of tasks that they give you, like for example, one of the ones was throwing or getting a bit of paper across to the other side of the room as quickly as possible. So it's not all about the subject that you're getting the job in. It was, you know, how innovative visual thinking and things like that. So some people were making aeroplanes, whereas other people were just crunching it into a ball and throwing it. So they're looking for different skills. It's not all about your knowledge. Definitely have a look online if you have one of those days to go to.
Interesting. Myra?
Yeah, I would say a lot of employers that we talk to actually say it's all about attitude. So come in, be interested, and as Nigel was saying, find out about the company, because that's what they want to know, is that you know something about the company and what they're interested in. And don't forget, you're interviewing them as well. So ask them some questions, see if it's a good fit for you, because not all companies that you walk into you actually want to work at, to be honest with you. So always have some really good questions yourself, so that you can ask them the question and say, can I ask you this? And come up with some good ones as well, because that's what's going to be the point of difference between you and somebody else who comes and sits in front of them as well. So just your attitude and a bit of research, and then have some really good questions to ask them.
Yeah, thank you. And Kim?
I would just say, similar to Myra really, is attitude, but walk in like you want the job. I've sort of seen quite a few people that through our AIM High scheme particularly, that we're not convinced they want it, which deep down they probably do. So sort of take a few breaths before you go in and be yourself, because it's not just what you know, and it's how you are. People have to work with you. The people that you're interviewing, it may be the ones that you will be working with, might be your direct boss. So be yourself, but yeah, walk in with that sort of attitude that you really want this job, and start off like that. And I think then it will just hopefully fall into place for you.
I'm going to come to you, Ellie. It's just, I don't know if you can all see, Jill keeps pitching in, Jill who let you into the room in the first place, and I just hope you can see her comments in the chat, because she keeps throwing things in, and she's very hot on being on time, so I know that's why she put the last thing in. And Ellie, your interview tip.
Okay, well, I agree with all the ones that everyone else has said. I would say like enthusiasm and all of that is really important. But my tip is probably something that no one else has mentioned, which is be nice to everybody, because you don't know how, especially with small companies, everybody talks. So if you come in and you're really, really nice to the people that interview you, but you're rude to the receptionist that lets you in, or the person that is organizing your interview that's an administrator or somebody, it's really important to just treat everyone wherever they are in the company nicely, because you never know who they are. You never know how much you talk to the people that you're interviewing with. So I think it's really important to consider that you're being interviewed. It isn't just about when you're sat in that room with the people interviewing you. It's the entire process. So being prompt about replying to emails and being on time and being nice to the people that let you in are critiqued as much as when you actually sit down in that room, because you can actually tell a lot by whether somebody turns up on time, or whether, you know, they're nice to the person that lets them through the door. So I think about those things as well as the things that you would think are really important.
Fantastic. Great advice, guys. You're all absorbing it. That's good. Katie, you hopped onto this quite late today. Did you have a question that you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I do actually. This question is kind of directed towards Christy, but actually can be answered by anyone. I was just wondering, you know, in competitive industries nowadays, how can you, as a student going into the industry, how can you stand out? What can make you stand out and not blend in and seem like any other student?
From my perspective, I picked a law degree which had a third year as a compulsory placement, which I think only Bournemouth and Swansea were doing at the time. I don't know whether it's changed since. But that year out in industry, one, cemented my view that I could definitely do that long term, and two, was really, really good on my CV, because everybody going for training contracts, you know, had the 2-1 or a first in law, but they'd just done, you know, the 3-year degree, whereas mine was a 4-year degree. But actually that year out working in personal injury was really, really invaluable. So if you can, I know, but we've talked about the difficulties about getting work experience, but if you can get something like that under your belt and actually get practical hands-on experience, then that would be really, really good.
Good question, Katie, thanks. Lucy, should we come back to you?
Yeah, I had them up just a second ago and now I've lost them again.
That's because you WhatsApped them to me.
Yeah, I know. I deleted them.
I had to email it to myself, so I had it in something concrete. You wanted to know again about marketing, really. What makes marketing a dream career for you?
Yeah.
Which is, you know, what we said, it is very glamorous, isn't it? It appears to be very glamorous, but I'm sure when you go and get a job in marketing and then they say, right, let's see your strategy and it's got to be all figures, that's not what you're thinking marketing is about, is it?
Maybe not, I'm not sure.
But I know that you want to go into journalism anyway. And actually marketing is pretty similar, isn't it? They're the same sort of skills. And these days, do you think, Eleanor, the people that you know that are in journalism, did they do a degree in journalism, or again, they do something completely different and then go into journalism?
Yeah, it's weird because actually one of my ex-bosses who was head of marketing started off in journalism, and she kind of fell into it and didn't study it at all. So I would say that yes, there actually are quite a lot of transferable skills and in journalism and marketing, certainly in terms of the ability to write. And in marketing, we do a lot of writing, both kind of things like longer articles like blogs, but also you do a lot of like really short writing for social media posts and things like that. So, you know, it's being able to write to lots of different people, but also being able to write to different mediums. So writing an email and writing a Twitter post and writing a long blog are very, very different. So I think, you know, journalism, being able to learn how to write different types of long articles, short articles, is something that is really kind of beneficial and would be beneficial in marketing as well. But to kind of answer the question about whether marketing's like super glamorous, it's I would argue it's like any job that we probably think is super glamorous, like being an actor or you know, being a model. Like, yeah, there probably are some parts of every job that you could say are glamorous or very exciting, but there's probably parts of every job that are not. You know, and I'm sure like models sit around and wait for ages and just have to sit there, and it's probably really boring, and then maybe it is really exciting, you know, seeing your picture on a billboard and things. But I would say, like, in marketing, yes, there are exciting parts, but there's also, you know, the more kind of boring things like looking at statistics. Or for some people those are the exciting parts, but for some people they are less so. But I think the benefit with marketing is that you get to do lots of different things, and I think that you can as well, if you're in a bigger company, really drill down into the things that you're excited about. So some people go specifically into only social media marketing, for example, or they only go into website marketing. So in bigger companies, there is that ability to really drill down into the one area that excites you. I know that things like events marketing is a bit more glam than, say, like you know, more technical SEO on websites. So, you know, it is kind of swings and roundabouts for marketing. And I know in a role like mine, where you're kind of doing a bit of everything, there probably are some bits that are more exciting than others, but that's kind of the joy, is to ping between them all.
And we've got a question for Christy. What is the most interesting case you've ever dealt with?
There's been a few. One that springs to mind, I was fairly newly qualified, and I ended up in Bristol court dealing with a case whereby my client had set fire to the family home, and it was on Valentine's Day that I was in court dealing with it. So that one always sticks in my mind. So some awful domestic abuse cases that I won't go into detail with on here, but yeah, there are some very different stories, very different backgrounds, very different people that you deal with. So it's never boring in family law.
There's been a question coming about having a gap year as well, and I think this year obviously it's been quite difficult for people that were planning gap years because they couldn't actually go anywhere. I just wonder how many of the panel actually took a gap year, either at 18 or some people take them after their degrees, and whether as an employer you think that is a good thing. Myra, how has it affected, I suppose, most people at 16? Do they, if they're thinking of doing an apprenticeship, they would do the apprenticeship and then possibly do a gap year?
Yeah, I don't know actually, because we have some people who do A-levels, go and have a gap year and then come and do apprenticeships with us. We do degree apprenticeships as well, so we've got quite a mixture. I know my daughter went to Leeds Uni recently, and she took a gap year. She didn't really go anywhere. She just had a year off because she was sick of studying, to be fair. So I think that's probably a good thing if you want a break. Because if you think that, you know, going straight to university, you might feel like it's a bit too much, maybe do take a gap year. Like you say, maybe if you can't travel, just do something else entirely different. Just get a little job somewhere in business and just see how the business world works, and just do something completely different.
Yeah. Nigel, if someone had on their CV they'd done a gap year, would that attract you to them or not?
Well, I think it would depend on what they'd done in their gap year and their motivation for doing it. Again, I think, you know, someone said the question was, you know, what makes you stand out in a crowded market? Well, if doing something exceptional and interesting and intriguing and, you know, in your gap year is one of those things that might just make you stand out in a busy marketplace. So as long as they've done something that is worthwhile.
Yeah, and Christy?
Yeah, again, I would echo just everything that's been said. It's all good life experience, isn't it? If you go on good experience that they've got as a result, hopefully.
And we have our celebrity journalist enter the room now. Andrew, it's good to see you.
Yeah, I'm so sorry I'm late, guys. Apologies. Are you well?
Is there something exciting happening in Gloucestershire there that kept you?
I was...
Apparently there's a tree falling down on Grosvenor.
Yeah, there's a tree falling down in Grosvenor Street. Did you know that?
I did actually. I spotted that on it was, I can't remember what it was on now, but yeah, I saw that pop up somewhere. Yeah, thank you for that. No, I was I just finished off a couple of things, but yeah, I lost some of the screen on my machine, but it's all back and functioning. So yeah, struggling a lot, but yeah.
That's all right. Andrew, tell us what you did at 18, first of all.
Oh, crikey. What did I do at 18? Is this sort of post sort of A-level period?
Yeah. What did you do?
Right. I took a year out, as they say. I didn't really think of it as a year out. I did have a place at university, but it just didn't feel like it was, I felt like I was just kind of being sort of, just heading there without any great sense of any great purpose, really. So I took a year out. I did 2 or 3 different jobs. I managed to fit a little bit of travelling in, but it was primarily the work, and I just loved, it sounds daft, I just loved earning some money, being able to spend it, and I learned a heck of a lot. The jobs weren't really anything to write home about, but the people were really helpful, and I think by the time I sort of finished the year, I had a bit more about me, I'd like to think, and also I sort of found my feet a bit. I knew what I wanted to do, so I had sort of more of an inkling anyway, where my strengths were, etc. So yeah, when I went back into education, I applied myself a bit better than I probably would have.
So tell us exactly what your job is now, because it's very glamorous. We're talking about glamorous jobs.
I'm not sure it's very glamorous, but no, thank you. I work for my business reporter primarily. I work for SoGloss at the moment, which is best way to describe it. It's an online magazine and sort of does news. It's mainly centred around the sort of what's on, entertainment side, sort of eating out, it's places to go. But my role is reporting on to businesses. And that's something I've specialised in for a while now. So which I just find fascinating, because that sums up, that includes just about everything, from your Gloucester Rugby Club to your startup, and there's lots of exciting startups around, to, even sweeps into the world of charity, as better than anyone, there's some fantastic organisations operating in Gloucestershire. So it allows me to speak to some really interesting people, and hopefully sort of do them justice, sort of online or in print, or wherever that goes. And then there's the sort of the big businesses in Gloucestershire. It's a great mix in Gloucestershire. It's I think from the outside people think it's all sort of lovely rolling hills and some nice places to go, but there's so much happening. It's really, I see Christy there. There's some great law firms, professional services firms, do some amazing work that you'd normally only get in, say, London or somewhere, but the skills are here, so in Gloucestershire. So yeah, I love it. Yeah, really do.
Good. We've got Lucy, who's waited really patiently, because Lucy's interested in being a journalist. So she's got a couple of questions for you. So Lucy, here you go.
Far away.
I think my main question is really, obviously the pandemic's been going on and everything, and for someone coming out of school and wanting to start journalism, I feel like it's a bit harder. And I think my main question is really, how did you get started? How did you make sure you had a career in journalism?
Yeah, that's a good question, because you wouldn't necessarily want to do what I did. I think, again, when I came into the chat there, people were talking about experience, and even if it's just a day or 2 days, you can sort of grab somewhere, somewhere like SoGloss, which has got, which opens its doors to people who want to come in and sort of find out a bit more, I actually went down a more formal route after a while. I did work experience in a couple of places, really enjoyed it. And I was a bit out of my depth probably when I first started, I think. I remember, so you arrive in a big newsroom, you think, wow, but there's always someone there who wants to help you. And things have changed a lot since then. So anyway, I went through a training scheme, which is essentially a kind of fast track apprenticeship, because I had a degree, but you don't need that. I didn't have that. Sorry, some of my colleagues didn't have that, but they had to do a slightly longer course. But things have moved on loads. Like the University of Gloucestershire has some fantastic journalism courses now. But so much of it is about, I think, so gaining some experience. So if you can get into, to help out or to go in for a little bit of work experience, that will stand you in good stead. And everyone sort of shines for a different reason, I think. Some people are, I don't know, it's more outgoing, they engage people in sort of way. Other people's strengths lay in the writing. Some people are just, somehow they're very easy to talk to, so if you're one of those, you'll get some really good stories as well. Other people are very good at digging stories out of people and sort of making them sort of open up in different ways. And I mean, have you got a sort of, are you planning to go do a particular course, or have you finished your education, or what? Sorry, I'm a bit late to the party. I don't know what you are.
I'm kind of finishing what would be my A-levels kind of next Monday, really. But I'm planning on having a year out. I've got a place at university, but it's doing geography. And when I made the decision to go to uni, it was more, I was like you said earlier, I'm more just going because it's uni. I didn't really have a purpose with it. So I applied to almost make sure if I did turn around and say I wanted to go, I went. But really, I much prefer to do journalism than art.
Yeah, I think my advice would be slightly different to one or two other people's, in that I don't necessarily think that going off and doing a degree in journalism is the best thing for everybody to do. It really opens the doors for the people you can, because on the courses now you'll do not only your written journalism, you do your broadcasts, you'll do your podcasts, you'll do your blogging, you'll sort of get a feel for all of that, and then you might find one of them that's really works for you. But I would try and get some work experience, as the guy said, if you're taking a bit of time out. So where I was going with the course thing is you can still become a journalist, if you've got a degree in medicine, because there's all sorts of specialisms around out there. And if you have those other skills, that you can bring to the party, then it may well be the difference between, what you're talking about and writing interesting stuff, and either not. So I don't know whether I'm being very helpful with that. I would, in Gloucestershire, I mean, there's various places you could try to get some experience, even if it's in a press office, which you may think, well, why do I want to go work in a press office? I want to be a journalist. Well, in some press offices, you will be writing some material which will become press releases, which will be sent out there, and that will give you a bit of a feel for the demands of writing an article. It's researching it and checking it. It's not rocket science at all. And if you get work experience, I don't know, let's say you went to Gloss Live, and it may not be somewhere you want to work, but there could be somebody there who just, takes a shine to you and feeds you the right bits of information, lights your fire really to go on and sort of find your own path. Whether that's helpful or not.
No, that is, thank you. Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, I think what makes people do jobs at the end of the day, obviously you have to work, but there's something inside you. If you really want to do it, that will make you overcome all of these things, and you'll find your way through. And if you've got it in your head that that's what you want to do, then yes, keep asking the questions, and the doors will open and you'll get there. It just feels at the moment probably you're at the foot of the mountain.
Thank you, Andrew. And we did say earlier, I did say to the panel that are there any questions that you would like to ask the students that we've got on today? It's been a difficult time, especially for the year 13s. Last year was difficult enough looking at the upper six and what had happened to them, and then not so great for them either. So are there any questions that the panel would like to ask the students? Yes, Myra.
Obviously, like I said earlier, my daughter's at Leeds Uni at the moment, so she's been doing all of her classes online for the last year at uni. Has that put you off going on to uni this September, any of you? Or are you quite happy to go to uni knowing that your classes will be online?
Anyone want to pitch in? Mimi and Megan, would you like to pitch in?
Well, we've still got upper sixth next year, so
right, okay.
I'm hoping that it gets better then. But I was thinking of taking a year out and deciding what I want to do anyway. So that doesn't quite apply to kind of my plan, but definitely I haven't enjoyed online learning.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just feels like, I hope it doesn't put people off, because it's such a shame, because you don't get the full uni experience if you're online. Charlie, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, that's pretty similar to me, to be fair. It's sort of like a bit far away to be like worrying about that.
But Lucy, for you, you are upper six. And Katie, are you upper six as well?
No, I'm lower six.
You're
so I've
lower.
still got another year.
Yeah, so Lucy, for you, really, is that one of the reasons that you're taking a year out?
Probably, yeah. Really hated online learning, hated it a lot. So I just don't think, and I think obviously going, because from me, I didn't feel like I had a purpose going. So I think that adds a massive weight. But then I think the online learning is just that little like cherry on the top that was like, there's no point.
Yeah. Do you know that next year, Myra, your daughter, does she know what will happen in September yet? Is it going to be online?
Yeah, online again. Yeah, which is, it's not great, because you go to university for it's not just the course you go for, is it? You go for everything else, all the experience, being on campus. The campuses are reopening, but still her classes are going to be taught online, which I can't really fully understand, because I think that's a bit of a shame, because it's that face-to-face interaction, and being in a class with lots of other people where you can interact with them really comfortably without feeling like you're on screen.
Yeah, and actually my niece is supposed to be going to Bristol to do ancient history, and she's just been told that she will have all hers online as well. And now she's thinking, well, do I want to go or not? Difficult. Any of the other panelists like to ask a question of the sixth formers? Yes, Christy.
I know that Willans as a company, they sort of partner with the University of Gloucestershire, and they do, mentoring and coaching sessions for the next generation of lawyers. But is there anything that people could think of that local firms could do to help sixth formers and bring them on in terms of their career progression or anything like that?
Well, I would just say, like, work experience, I think, is a really good way of finding out if you want to go into that particular subject or not. So I would say just maybe more advertisement of law experience, or just any work experience for any company. I think that's really important.
Have you been able to get any work experience, Mimi and Megan?
I haven't. I've managed to get some organised for next year, but nothing for this year.
And Lucy, I know you contacted me a while ago, and I mean, at that time there was nothing, was there? Have you managed to get anything?
Unfortunately, not anything in journalism. I've emailed quite a few companies, like about 5 or 6 different times, but nothing from them. But I might be able to. I'm obviously now just looking at jobs for money rather than so.
I'll come to you, David. You did actually get an article written, though. Andrew, I did give Lucy a contact of, can't remember what it's called now, on Twitter, but they have a sort of magazine. Can you remember what it was called, Lucy? And I sent her the link, and they did use your article, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, it was right
great.
up the street.
Right up your street, yeah.
Yeah.
And I said to her, you know, maybe write a blog or something that at least it shows that you can write and that sort of thing.
I mean, Sogloss here, they've opened up sort of the Kickstarter scheme, you know, they've embraced that, which brings people in to help experience, you know, the world of work and journalism. And but yeah, even just writing a blog, you may feel like you're just writing to yourself. But I think even that, you know, it gets you into the sort of the discipline of sort of putting something down in words. And you know, sort of trying to work out from that sort of how people interact with that, you know, what do they like? If you've written one week, which really seemed to take off, and it's understanding some of those skills as well. And I think it just starts to cultivate an interest in things, or cultivate your writing style, or cultivate your sort of, you know, you start reading other people's stuff and realize that, you know, they've got a certain way of presenting things, and that's really good, and other people react to that. I mean, so yeah, dip your toe in the water, and even if it is blog, I say even if it is, I mean, some blogs are brilliant. You know, you can learn a lot from them as well, and they're just good fun.
Charlie, is there anything you'd like to say before we close?
Not really, no. I think everything's sort of been answered.
In fact, Jules, I was going to come to you and say, very nice to have you on. Love to know what your history is.
Mine? Oh my goodness. I'm currently one of the heads of schools at Gloucestershire College, so I am responsible for sport, uniform public services, business, travel, a whole range of different things, but did very little of those in terms of my experience. So I always knew that I wanted to get into teaching, went through a PE route. So went and taught PE for a few years, ended up at Further Education College. Absolutely love it, because it's young people like yourselves who have made decisions about what they want to do, where they want to go, or maybe aren't quite sure, and are picking some of our subjects for the different skills that they can give you, that you can take to different sectors. So it's been so interesting listening to everybody this afternoon, and just I'll extend that out. If any of you want to come and speak to our students, inspire our students, but help and support them with the likes of work placement. We've done lots of virtual work placements, but I think, like Katie and Lucy just said, that virtual as opposed to really doing it is the bit that we've missed in the last sort of year or so. So any help will be greatly received.
Thanks very much for joining us today anyway. And David, you wanted to say something.
I was really just following up from that last sort of few comments being made, because I think it's been pretty tough for young people not knowing whether they can do university in person, not knowing whether they can do work experience in person. So actually, the going to university, further education, or going into a job, both of them have got difficulties. And so my question was, is there a sense locally, and some of you may know a bit more widely, is that kind of job market, those opportunities starting to open up? Or have young people got another year or so to have to cope with this? And if so, how do they go about doing that? What are your tips to them?
Myra was nodding. Nigel, Myra, you go first, and then I don't know. I know that you...
Sorry, yeah, I speak to businesses all over Gloucester. That's my job, about jobs, apprenticeships, taking apprenticeships on. And the last couple of months have been a huge upsurge. A lot of employers are now taking apprentices on, and staff generally. So it does feel very, very good, I would say, compared to this last year. It feels very optimistic, the job market. And there are jobs out there, definitely, for young people and all ages, all yeah, I would say so.
Nigel, how do you find it in your business?
Yeah, I think there's lots of opportunities. The cork is well and truly out of the bottle. I think it's been pent up, and lots of people want to get moving again, and that, you know, includes investment, includes employment, you know, includes growth, and people are just, you know, really ready to go. In fact, they're going. You know, we see it in our customers, investing and spending, you know, wanting to get back to where they were before. So I think it all looks really positive, David. Yeah.
Good. And so before we finish, is there anything else that anyone feels that they could contribute? This will actually be used, well, it will be used at Dean Close for part of their careers anyway, because we have recorded it. Sorry for not telling you that before, guys. But we hope that, you know, it's not just useful for those that have come on the recording today, but for other pupils who haven't been able to, that it might give them an insight or some ideas of which way to go. So if there's nothing else, just thank you all for coming today and taking part. I think it worked really well. So watch out, you might be asked to come and do it again. Thanks for all your time, and whatever you're going on to do, students, I always want to know what people are up to, so please contact me and let me know what you're doing. And thanks very much and have a good afternoon. Thank you.